Alright guys, we're on book 5, chapter 21 of The Godfather. Very short. Very short. Probably like less than 10 minutes. But it was to be nearly another year before Don Corleone could arrange for his son Michael to be smuggled back into the United States. It took a year. During that time, the whole family racked their brains for suitable schemes. Even Carlo Rizzi was listened to now that he was living in the mall with Connie. That's the pretty much the reason why fucking Sonny got killed, because he was beating on Sonny's sister and made Sonny leave the house. But now they were listening to Carlo Rizzi because he was around. During that time, they had a second child, a boy, but none of the schemes met with the Don's approval. Finally, it was the Bocchiciccio family who, through a misfortune of its own, solved the problem. There was one Bocchiciccio, a young cousin of no more than 25 years of age, named Felix, who was born in America and with more brains than anyone in the clan had ever had before. He had refused to be drawn into the family garbage, hauling business, and married a nice American girl of English stock to further his split from the clan. He went to school at night to become a lawyer and worked during the day as a civil service post office clerk. During that time, he had 3 children, but his wife was a prudent manager, and they lived on his salary until he got his law degree. Now, Felix Bocchiciccio, like many young men, thought that having struggled to complete his education and master the tools of his profession, his virtue would automatically be rewarded, and he would earn a decent living. This proved not to be the case. Still proud, he refused all help from his clan. But a lawyer friend of his, a young man well-connected and with a budding career in a big law firm, talked Felix into doing him a little favor. It was very complicated, seemingly legal, and had to do with a bankruptcy fraud. It was 1,000,000 to 1 shot against it being found out. Felix Bocchiciccio took the chance since the fraud involved using the legal skills he had learned in a university. It seemed not so reprehensible and in an odd way not even criminal. To make a fuller story short, the fraud was discovered. The lawyer friend refused to help Felix in any manner, refused to even answer his telephone calls. The 2 principals in the fraud, shrewd middle-aged businessmen who furiously blamed Felix Bocchiciccio's legal clumsiness for the plan going awry, pleaded guilty and cooperated with the state, naming Felix Bocchiciccio as the ringleader of the fraud and claiming he had used threats of violence to control their business and force them to cooperate with him in his fraudulent schemes. Testimony was given that linked Felix with uncles and cousins in the Bocchiciccio clan who had criminal records for strong-arm, and this evidence was damning. The 2 businessmen got off with suspended sentences. Felix Bocchiciccio was given a sentence of 1 to 5 years and served 3 of them. The clan did not ask help from any of the families or Don Corleone because Felix had refused to ask their help and had to be taught a lesson. That mercy comes only from the family, that the family is more loyal and more to be trusted than society. In any case, Felix Bocchiciccio was released from prison after serving 3 years, went home and kissed his wife and 3 children and lived peacefully for a year, and then showed that he was of the Bocchiciccio clan after all. Without any attempt to conceal his guilt, he procured a weapon, a pistol, and shot his lawyer friend to death. He then searched out the 2 businessmen and calmly shot them both through the head as they came out of a luncheonette. He left the bodies lying in the street and went into the luncheonette and ordered a cup of coffee, which he drank while he waited for the police to come and arrest him. He left the bodies lying in the street, went to the luncheonette and ordered a cup of coffee, waiting for the cops to come arrest him. His trial was swift and his judgment merciless. A member of the criminal underworld had cold-bloodedly murdered state witnesses who had sent him to the prison he richly deserved. It was a flagrant flouting of society, and for once the public, the press, the structure of society, and even soft-headed and soft-hearted humanitarians were united in their desire to see Felix Bocchiciccio in the electric chair. The governor of the state would no more grant him clemency than the officials of the pound spare a mad dog, which was the phrase of one of the governor's closest political aides. The Bocchiciccio clan, of course, would spend whatever money was needed for appeals to higher courts. They were proud of him now, but the conclusion was certain. After the legal folderol, which might take a little time, Felix Bocchiciccio would die in the electric chair. It was Hagen who brought this case to the attention of the Don at the request of one of the Bocchiciccios who hoped that something could be done for the young man. Don Corleone curtly refused. He was not a magician. People asked him the impossible, but the next day the Don called Hagen into his office and had him go over the case in the most intimate detail. When Hagen was finished, Don Corleone told him to summon the head of the Bocchiciccio clan to the mall for a meeting. What happened next had the simplicity of genius. Don Corleone guaranteed to the head of the Bocchiciccio clan that the wife and children of Felix Bocchiciccio would be rewarded with a handsome pension. The money for this would be handed over to the Bocchiciccio clan immediately. In turn, Felix must confess to the murder of Salazzo and the police captain McCluskey. That is genius. There were many details to be arranged. Felix Bocchiciccio would have to confess convincingly. That is, he would have to know some of the true details to confess to. Also, he must implicate the police captain in narcotics. Then the waiter at the Luna restaurant must be persuaded to identify Felix Bocchiciccio as the murderer. This would take some courage, as the description would change radically, Felix Bocchiciccio being much shorter and heavier, but Don Corleone would attend to that. Also, since the condemned man had been a great believer in higher education and a college graduate, he would want his children to go to college, and so a sum of money would have to be paid by Don Corleone that would take care of the children's college. Then the Bocchiciccio clan had to be reassured that there was no hope for clemency on the original murders. Then the Bocchiciccio clan had to be reassured that there was no hope for clemency on the original murders. The new confession, of course, would seal the man's already certain doom. The new confession, of course, would seal the man's already almost certain doom. Everything was arranged, the money paid, and suitable contact made with the condemned man so that he could be instructed and advised. Finally, the plan was sprung and the confession made headlines in all the newspapers. The whole thing was a huge success, but Don Corleone, cautious as always, waited until Felix Bocchiciccio was actually executed 4 months later before finally giving the command that Michael Corleone could return home. That is pretty fucking genius. He's like, well, why are you gonna go? You're gonna die anyway. Why go down? You know, because he did commit murders. You know, he did, and his family will be taken care of. So. But it's also like you killed a cop, right? You're going to take a brutal beating. Because you think the cops probably would have beat him, right? So, told you it was short. But the next one's long, and I got to do some homework, so I don't know if I'm going to read it right now. I got to read a chapter of my other book. Anyway, peace.